use this format than to be able to address those issues that were in the media.
Jackie Quinn with KPAX. My first question is, how satisfied are you with the investigation? Did they answer all the questions that you had going into this?
It's not a matter of whether they answered my questions. The investigation is what it is. The findings are what they are, and I believe those had already been released. And there's no argument with the findings that the investigator comes up with. I mean, those are what they believe, and the Assistant Attorney General acted according to what he believed he found in the investigation.
Meaning you don't take issue with it?
I'm not going to argue with what the investigator determined. They're an independent investigator, and so they're very capable, and I accept their findings.
Or are there any concerns that you have right now?
No, there's no concerns other than the fact that I think we needed to address the issue. I believe it was addressed, and we need to move forward.
And I just want to ask you if you can go over the issues that you had with the media reporting those different issues that you said were incorrect. Could you go over that?
You want me to go over them again?
Yeah, is that possible? Just briefly? I mean, it's all on there, but then I guess.
Yeah, most of them are, I mean, briefly. I think I addressed them pretty succinctly. I mean, there was some points that were made in the Mineral Independent in regards to being told that the commissioners and the county attorney were not happy with the discipline that was given, and that was never expressed to me.
I know that you did write in a letter that there was excessive force used, and a lot of people here are unhappy about that. What do you want people to know?
I'm sorry.
What do you want people to know that so that not enough was done because found that they not use excessive force? What do you want people to know?
The investigation said that there was excessive force used, and so I accept that, and so that's why the discipline was given. Let me explain something about, there are officers, unfortunately, make mistakes. Nobody is perfect. The thing that people don't understand many times is that we can look at a video, and over a period of 10 seconds, you can start counting it out. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. Seems like an inordinate amount of time. But officers, firefighters, first responders in many different situations in where there is stress incidents, the things that occur are instantaneous. And what happens with first responders, and this has been shown and proven, because officers have lost their jobs for supposedly lying and then have received their jobs back because they were able to prove that the perception of the brain of what occurs during a stress incident may be somewhat contrary to what is actually shown on a particular video. I can take an instance, and many people realize that how many folks have seen a particular incident or an accident, and you interview some of the different witnesses, and you'll come up with different color vehicle, different clothing people are wearing, and you'll get different circumstances for a particular, let's say, collision. Those people aren't necessarily lying. That's just what they have perceived. And unfortunately, what happens sometimes during these investigations, what an officer perceives and remembers during that situation is not necessarily what is shown in retrospect on a particular video.
I just wanted to rephrase that last question. A lot of people here think not enough was done. So how do you respond to that?
Well, that discussion was had with our liability carriers, and they felt that that was sufficient. And at the time, there was no disagreement between myself, our attorneys, and at that time, the county attorney didn't disagree. Except for the fact that she felt that he should have been terminated, but other than that, the discipline, there was no argument.
Jim Brickman from Missouri. Ernie, do you see a way of resolving the stalemate with the county attorney in regards to prosecuting Deputy Balenger's investigations?
That's solely her decision. During a closed session with the county commissioners and Deputy Balenger and myself and his attorney and the union representative, we wanted to talk or speak again with our personnel attorney from the Montana Association of Counties, although he just recently returned on the 17th of this month. So I've not had the opportunity to discuss that with him, but that was one of the options we wanted to take a look at, is to see how we could address this issue.
Another question is, how are you going to restore the trust with who are upset?
Yeah.
That's my trust.
Just, but
For some of the people who are upset, how are you going to mend that relationship, build that trust back up?
one of the problems is that in serving the people of this county, is not everybody agrees. There are things that I do or manners in which I execute my office. I'm never going to be able to please everyone, and I can't. I need to be responsive to the residents of this county and to the voters. However, just like a legislator, I need to balance what I'm hearing from two sides. When a legislator is receiving information from his voters about how the legislator should vote on a particular piece of legislation, they're going to take and weigh the balance of how many voters feel that they should vote one way and how many should vote the other way. And they're going to go, if they're responsive, with the majority of the voters. Now, if there's kind of even, then the legislator is going to have to make a decision, moral decision, in which way they're going to vote on that legislation. In the same manner, pardon me?
But it's not the way it should be, because people may want to vote and think one way, but as a legislator, the legislator has the opportunity to find out in more detail what that legislation has to do with. Many times, and I personally have seen that many times when I was over there, many times the idea that a lot of the people have, and they start writing letters and postcards, is not the way it should be, and a legislator, to be honest with himself and to be honest with the people in the state, have to go with what's best, and sometimes that is going against a lot of the postcards and letters that he gets.
And Carl, Mr. Carl, I agree that there is some of that there. But that would apply in my position. The people voted me to make decisions. And the problem is that many of the times, not everybody knows all the facts that I have. But I still need to be responsive to the voters. But there are many people who go and they complain to the county commissioners or they complain to other people, but they don't complain to me. I'm the one that they should be coming to, not the county commissioners, not the county attorney, or others.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Did I answer the question for you? Before I take another question, did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Was there an internal investigation done regarding this incident?
That question came up. I did a preliminary, the information that I had received at the time, I did a cursory investigation, but at that particular time, again, being short of deputies, this particular inmate had caused us thousands of dollars worth of damage. I had many issues that were going on with the jail because of what he did, and I did not have that opportunity to delve into it. Once this video had already been turned over to the county attorney, it was shortly thereafter that we were called and said that she had asked the Division of Criminal Investigation to investigate. So at that particular point, I did not do it.
Is there any official documentation of that initial investigation that you had?
No, because of the timing that I had, because of the other items that I had going on, no, I didn't do a formal one.
And my second question is, does your office stand behind the comments that Mr. Bewley made regarding the county attorney?
I'm not going to make a comment about the county attorney, other than the fact that I just don't feel that the credibility issue is a Brady issue in this case, and I disagree with her on that.
I just have a question for you, Jim. Do you agree with everything that your attorney said regarding your prior incident?
Yes,
Everything he said?
yes.
Okay.
Going forward, have you changed your system of checks and balances so that issues like this would be reported and addressed prior to somewhat
I couldn't hear, you need to speak a little louder, Mr. Wirtz.
Going forward, do you have a system of checks and balances in place now so that this kind of an issue can be reported and addressed before it becomes an issue in the media?
Well, we have, of course, we've needed to make some changes of how we operate. One of the problems and one of the things that we did is that, unlike other large agencies, the deputies do not get involved into the detention center. You have detention officers who strictly work detention, and the deputies do strict law enforcement patrol investigations. Because of the size of our agency, we don't have the personnel in detention to be able to do that. And so many times we only have one detention officer on. And so when an incident occurs, then they need help, then they need to call for the deputies that happen to be on duty. And so yes, we're addressing how deputies need to respond then to jail incidents. Because there's two different sets of standards. Officers have a different set of standards for their use of force versus the detention officers. Detention officers are not peace officers. They're not law enforcement officers. They're public safety officers, as are communications officers, dispatchers. But they're not law enforcement. And so we need to, and we've changed and we're changing then how deputies need to respond when they're assisting our detention officers, which should help to alleviate the discrepancies between the policies that exist within a detention facility and with officers then who are working in the field. So yes, we're making changes.
Sheriff, do you agree with the force that Officer Balenger took against inmate DJ Bass?
He was disciplined for it, and that's why I issued that discipline. If I didn't feel that that was the case, then he would have not been disciplined, and we would have had a different issue going on.
So what do you suggest Officer Balenger tell the teenagers who are in a fist fight in the street? That's illegal, is it not?
I'm sorry, ma'am, you cannot compare what's going on there with officers who are involved in a stress incident, particularly in responding to an inmate who has been problematic in the past. I'm not making excuses, but you have to understand what happens with law enforcement officers when they're responding to these types of issues. Yes, we need to address them, but it's not the same, and you can't compare kids who are fighting out in the streets versus the use of force that sometimes is necessary and sometimes is maybe more than necessary. That's why that was addressed in this issue. If there are no other questions, and I thank everyone for coming tonight, and hopefully this has answered many of the questions that some of you may have had regarding this particular incident and where we're going. Yes, we're making changes. We will always continually make changes as we move forward.